Hello and welcome to another episode of Archery Releases Ad Nauseum. Today I'm going to analyze the newest offering from Ultraview for 2022, the Hinge 2.0. There will be time codes and a pinned comment to skip through to different specifics, though the topics do tend to blend together, so it's not quite as compartmentalized as my previous reviews, or specifically the one on release types. I think my reviews are going to play out more like podcasts now than video essays, as I'm going to try to focus more on providing straight information than trying to make myself something I'm not, which is an in front of the camera person, if you haven't figured that out already. So I don't feel like adding B-roll of me using it is actually going to add anything substantive other than stroking my own ego. That may come later. I'm also going to try and keep my own personal preferences out unless it's relatable, such as hand position and grip when you draw your bow and transition to anchor, stuff like that. So if you wanted to listen to this in the background while you do something else, you really won't be missing anything by not watching it. It's going to be a lot of tell, don't show. I'm going to examine the fit and finish of the stainless Hinge 2.0 I received last week and the accessories I ordered with it, which are the 2 and 3 finger hunting brackets and the 4 finger hunting bracket in aluminum. I had to cut costs somewhere, and I don't plan on using the 4 finger hunting bracket myself. I will also be discussing in what ways it is different from the first generation of UV hinge, how it compares to other hinges of comparable pricing, and also comparable feature sets, they're not always exclusive, and whether this release may or may not work for mine or your style of shot execution. Please keep in mind I am dealing with a sample size of 1, and I am only analyzing the Hinge 2.0 in stainless size medium for the moment. I will eventually be getting a hold of a large and all its accessories as well, but I made a significant financial investment in release aids brought out in 2022 already, and I need to recoup some of that before I can spend any more. Chris B may have covered some of these already in his video, but for the sake of putting out a comprehensive review, I'm going to touch on those as well. As some of my favorite YouTubers say, if you have to seek out alternate media for your narrative to make sense, you have not done your job as a creator. So let's get into it. I do have to throw in one subjective opinion of mine in here. The Ultraview Hinge was released online and at Vegas on Wednesday, February 2nd, and was in stock and ready to order on the same day. I believe this was a very smart move on their part to have stock ready to go on the same day it was released. It kind of puts the rest of the industry to shame, in my opinion. I mean, they're bigger operations than Ultraview, and everything that was released at ATA from the other manufacturers like Stan, Trueball, B3, Scott, etc., are all slated to start shipping to dealers at the end of the second week of February, and that's past. That's gone already. Other products like the Abyss extension from Trueball aren't even expected to start shipping until May, when half the year is over. Granted, the other companies primarily sell through dealers instead of direct to the public, and they use ATA as like a measure of how much they need to make. But this is why my first video, 2022, for release aids is a review of the Hinge 2.0 instead of the 8 Stan Onyx releases I ordered, and that's because I got it first. I mean, how do you beat that? Same goes for the Cobra Professional, the Trueball Executive, or the B3 Tangent, all of which I ordered, and I'm still waiting to find out when they're going to ship. I mean, Ultraview figured it out. I don't know what everyone else's excuse is. Sorry, I digress. The Ultraview 2.0 hinge comes in medium or large, aluminum or black stainless steel. I'm not sure what coating they're using on the stainless. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Cerakote, since that's pretty mainstream nowadays. I don't think it is, though. I think we're going to have wear issues with these. The aluminum version is anodized. Sizing for the medium is pretty consistent with what many people think of as a medium. The finger beds are comparable to a medium Trueball blade. In between sizes between a medium and small HBC, a large Stan Perfex, here we go for reference, A medium SX3, a little smaller than a Carter Wise Choice, similar to a B3 Omega Mini, similar to a Carter Just Because or Easy S, similar to a Scott Apex in medium, and a little smaller than a Scott Sigma. Sizing is all over the place with Archery releases, and I'm currently working on a way to help people sort through that, but that's for a video that is forthcoming. The Hinge 2.0 ships with a thumb barrel post and no thumb barrel, and a 3-finger finger extension. At the completion of this video, there are no 2 or 4 finger metal finger extensions available from Ultraview like they did with the original, where they had the loose pieces instead of the hunting brackets. And the standard 3-finger extension only comes in aluminum. So if you wanted to shoot it as a 2 or a 4-finger, you have to purchase the hunting brackets. The hunting brackets are available in 2, 3, or 4-finger, aluminum or stainless, medium and large. Similarly to the original, finger extensions are solid and are not sweep adjustable, so you get a pretty straight handle as your default. Ultraview, if you're listening to this, that could definitely be a future upgrade. Just make this thing infinitely adjustable. So now we're going to get into differences between the 1.0 and the 2.0. The finger beds are wider on the 2.0 than they are on the 1.0. The rounded edges of the finger beds are unaffected, so the flat part at the center of the finger beds was actually the part that was made wider by roughly 5 millimeters. The 1.0 is about 10 millimeters wide in total, and the 2.0 is about 15 millimeters. So they made almost a 50% 30% increase, if I could do my math. This should make drawing with it more comfortable, though I can't say I really minded the 1.0. So by contrast, the original Hinge was or is offered. I don't know if they're still actually planning on offering the 1.0. I think they're going to discontinue it in place of this one. It was offered in aluminum and brass, medium and large. The large is actually an extra large. The hunting brackets could be had in aluminum or brass, and non-hunting bracket metal finger extensions were available in 2, 3, and 4 fingers, and in aluminum and brass, I think. The UV 2.0 stainless with stainless hunting, 3-finger stainless hunting bracket weighs in at 5.9 ounces as compared to the equivalent 1.0 in all brass that comes in a full ounce lighter, according to my scale. The Sear mechanism in the Hinge 2.0 has been updated to include a dual moon system for independently adjustable, micro-adjustable click and speed lengths, and they're labeled on the posts here to show which one's which. The head also contains a magnet to reset the hook and hold it in the ready position. I don't know if this was a collaboration or the patent expired, if there was one, but the mechanism looks very similar to a Carter dual moon release system, which I'll talk about later. After adjusting mine and cranking the click way past the hash marks that are there for reference, which is where I ended up needing it, I saw the other side of the Sear, and there's actually a little worm drive in there for the micro adjust. So that was neat. One thing that is worth noting is that the click does not move with the speed adjustment. They move independently. It's not like the Scott Ascent where you lock the click onto the moon and they move together when you micro adjust it. So anytime you change the speed of the Sear, you have to readjust the click separately. Not a huge deal, but it's an extra step. I mentioned the hash marks on the neck for the release to use for reference. Since I still don't know left from right, these are definitely going to come in handy because you can actually see it move. And a little adjustment can go a long way. Apparently there was a video posted by Chris B on how to set up the click and fire since some people were finding it tricky. I didn't see the video, but I'm going to sum it up in one sentence. Set your click first if you use a click, and then set your firing speed. It makes it easier to do with a shot trainer if you have one or a piece of string. wrapped around your finger with the correct draw length. The click on mine is actually one of the loudest of any hinge that I have. It's probably not terribly loud if it's not next to your ear, but this is the first one that actually made me flinch on the click since I started using them. I don't know if that was because I'm just not used to when it goes off, but it's got a pretty pronounced click to it. By comparison, the original hinge was also micro-adjustable for speed, but the click was machined on the hook and could be adjusted by swapping in different hooks that were sold separately. And they had different lengths of click. I never found one that was actually short enough for my preference. If you use the hunting bracket and carry a set of folding Allen keys like I do, you would have to remove this bracket to adjust the Sear, because that set screw is way inside the body, or rather the adjustment screw. With the 2.0, you can almost use the folding key set to unlock. If I could do this while I'm trying to do this on a camera reading my teleprompter, you could actually get it into a position where you could unlock that Sear if you have it in the right position that doesn't contact the top of the bracket. So that's actually kind of nice. You don't have to carry around the included Allen key if you don't want to. The Hinge 2.0 has a magnet mounted to the top of the neck to catch the hook and hold it in place. Autofocus. It doesn't exactly auto reset on release, if you can see that, but a little sweep of your finger will actually get it to catch, and then it'll stay in place. So that's kind of nice. Anybody who has any experience with a Trueball HT or HBC will be familiar with giving that little finger sweep, though the head is spring-loaded on the Trueball and doesn't have a magnet. I'm already seeing some issues with people saying that this magnet is breaking on them and they have to send it back. I don't know how that would happen. I know the magnets are brittle, but that's probably took a hit or something, because I don't know if it would just snap without things being fiddled with. Comparatively, the head on the Gen 1 was left loose, and those who didn't care for that were just kind of left to find solutions to keep it in place, like wrapping rubber bands around it. It was never an issue for me because I'm a target shooter. The consistency of finish is not shiny on the stainless hinge. I don't think it's meant to be. It's kind of a matte satin finish. Mine had one tiny mark right about here out of the box. It won't be its last, so I'm not going to be a diva about that. There were no marks on the finish or on the pins or screws. I have to mention that because some companies are better than others. One thing I like to look at in a release with interchangeable finger extensions is how well they match up with the release body, like how good these interfaces are here. This shows the tightness of tolerance in which the manufacturer is working and their attention to detail. And like I said, sadly, some companies are far better than others, despite being at a similar price point. Both stainless hunting brackets that I got, which are the 3 and the 2 finger ones, matched up almost perfectly. The aluminum hunting bracket, not so much. There was a little bit, it came up a little bit short right about here, under the thumb pad. Not a big deal, and it probably would have gone unnoticed if I wasn't looking so closely at it. And it's not really something I'm going to complain about. The standard 3-finger pieces and the thumb peg stud were both fine. They matched up perfectly. The position of the hook on the 2.0 is closer to the webbing between the index and middle finger by about 1/8 of an inch. This brings it closer to a traditional hinge and makes it somewhat easier to activate for those of us who draw with a lot of thumb and index finger. I tend to draw like this, where the angle of the head is pinned to the top of the stalk. That way I know I can't release it accidentally on the draw. I don't know if this is common or proper, but that's the way I do it, and to each his own. Because of this, it takes a very long time and a lot of movement to get me to get this head to release or to lift up off the stock on the 1.0, regardless of how hot I set it. That said, the change in hook position on the 2.0, coupled with the steeper angle of the head at the pin position does actually make it easier for me to use versus the original. The original takes me forever to fire it. This one, coupled with the better Sear mechanism, makes it a lot easier for me to use. Your mileage may vary. The height of the stalk is shorter than the 1.0 by about 1/8 of an inch. If you line everything up exactly, it's ever so slightly shorter. I think I should be able to match it up with the thumb release a little better, though I haven't tried it yet. That was a major issue with some people, that they couldn't get the hinge to match up with a thumb release. This should be a little bit easier to do that. So as shown before, the sizing of the medium, with the exception of thickness, is exactly the same between the 1 and the 2.0. They match up exactly. Sizing of the larges is not the same. The large 1.0 is 20% larger than the medium, and it looks like they skipped a size in between. It's huge. According to Lancaster Archery, the 2.0's large is only upsized by about 10%. This is more in line with how most manufacturers, at least the ones who publish real numbers or actually explain how they size their releases, that's how they deal with size. It's usually around 10% between sizes. The position of the thumb pad on the hunting brackets has been moved in, and the angle of the pad was changed to be more perpendicular than the finger beds. So it doesn't stick out nearly as far as the 1.0, and you don't have to angle it forward nearly as much in order to get your thumb on it. The knurling on the pad of the hunting brackets is not aggressive at all. On the 2.0 brackets. The 1.0 aluminum brackets were a little bit grippy, and the brass ones actually had enough bite to keep your finger from sliding. The checkering on the 2.0 is almost smooth, and it's basically there for show or decoration. Like, I would definitely have preferred a lot deeper checkering with a little more traction if this pad is actually meant to for you to put your thumb on it. Also, if you had gloves on, too, because I can't imagine being able to get any kind of purchase with gloves on this versus this, which actually has some bite to it. The hunting brackets are the same size and sweep as the 1.0. Everything is the same angle and sweep, so if you've had a 1.0 hinge, then it's going to still feel familiar, just a little bit thicker. So flipping these over, the finger extensions now connect to the release body on the side instead of being slotted into a groove like on the original. Not sure which one is better at this, but they would probably have to have tighter tolerances on the 2.0 design to make sure that the pieces that weren't machined together match up sufficiently. We already talked about that a little. I think it was probably easier to get everything to line itself up here. Like, I'm just feeling this right here, and there's a little bit of a raised edge, so maybe they're onto something. One thing I know that will please people who have earlier versions of the 1.0 is that there is no longer a plastic plug, 3D printed or otherwise, in the back of the handle to hold a cable that holds the Sear taut or whatever its actual purpose is. So they went from the fairly hideous looking 3D printed version of whatever this thing is to an injection molded version, which looked nicer, which is definitely a lot better fitted and finished. And now on the 2.0, it is just a drilled hole on the back of the release body, and its function is to house the set screw that unlocks the moons and locks them back into place. I think there's one thing I can gripe about this release, other than the price, and that's the material and the color of this head. It works on the aluminum and the standard 3-finger versions to have an aluminum head that's a similar color to the finger extension and thumb barrel post, but on the all-black stainless body and hunting bracket combo, it looks a little bit out of place. And it also looks out of place on the brass version as well. Ultraview, if you're listening to this, which you actually might be, you guys are pretty social media savvy. If you're going to go with a stainless premium version, I think it should be completely stainless. Or the head should be anodized black, or the stainless bracket should be the same color as the head. I mean, you guys know how archers like to color coordinate. So what kinds of other releases are out there that are similar by price point? The Trueball Executive is probably the closest by price point in that it has independently adjustable, micro-adjustable click and speed. And the HBC also, which doesn't have the dual moon design, but it does have interchangeable finger extensions that are sweep adjustable, which the UV does not. The new Stan Onyx is comparable also by price point. It does not have an independently adjustable click and speed, but it does have interchangeable finger extensions that are sweep adjustable as well. Also not out yet, so still waiting on that. They're looking at March 1st, or the first week of March now for their release. I'm not holding my breath. Similar releases by feature set. The Scott Ascent. Oh, not these are not necessarily the same or similar price area, but they are similar in features. The Scott Ascent, which is also a solid stainless release, independently click and speed adjustable, and a stainless handle. The click adjustment is not micro adjustable, but it does lock onto the Sear. So once it's set, it doesn't have to be reset when you change the speed. They move together. The head uses rubber bands to reset the hook, which can break and need replacing. One thing that I don't like, other than the rubber bands, is the Ascent requires 3 different sizes of Allen key to unlock the Sear, and adjust the click. When you have the manufacturing capabilities of Scott Archery, this should probably be sorted with 1 key. The Hinge 2.0 uses one 50,000ths Allen key to unlock the Sears and adjust them. It's not a big issue, but it's kind of annoying that you have to keep switching between, Allen keys in order to get that done. Not so bad with an adjustable set with you, but if you don't carry that with you, then it could be a little bit of a chore, more a chore than it needs to be. Other releases with similar feature sets include the Carter NV Knock On 2 Smooth, Carter Total Control, and Carter 2 Moons. There's a pattern there. They all have independently adjustable clicks and speeds, but they all have solid handles and different ergonomics. So in conclusion, the UV Hinge 2.0 is a refined version of the original where Ultraview took consumer feedback and made improvements as well as a number of upgrades to move the platform forward. It did come with a pretty significant price increase, and whether it's worth it or not is up to the archer. The aluminum version of the Hinge starts at $249 for the 3-finger, and the stainless version is coming in at $299, which makes it one of the most expensive releases on the market. The hunting brackets, the aluminum ones, they start at $40, and the stainless brackets start at $50. So you're looking at basically a 25% increase in the price on all the accessories. So if you like to mix and match, it's really going to add up. The nice thing is you don't have to buy a separate hooks and such for that. They haven't come out with any funky fingers or, like I said, different extensions, like separate extensions for the 2 and the 4. So those are a few things that you don't have to pay for, but you're still putting out a hefty sum for a release. That being said, releases have a tendency to stick with you a bit longer than the bows, sights, rests, or the other arrows, the other things that you're using it with. You're more likely to hang on to, or at least the people who change their equipment very often, you're more likely to hang on to a release a lot longer than those other archery items. And that's kind of an industry thing where the release manufacturers don't actually put things out at the same rate as like a new bow. They have their version of the latest and greatest, but it actually most of the time is an improvement on what's already out. So that's that. So that about does it. If you enjoyed this symposium on the Hinge 2.0, please like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to support my work, please check out my Etsy shop or my website, which is currently under construction. The links for those will be in the description. Thank you very much for your time. Take care, stay safe, and happy hunting. Wanted to briefly mention the range of motion of the Sear on the Hinge 2.0. You can set this thing from extremely cold. I don't know who would set it that cold to warrant having the hash marks back here. But you can set it extremely hot. So there's got to be a setting in there for anybody who wants to use it, even me. I had to set it to where I'm almost up past the hash marks, which you can actually do, but you're at the point where you're thousandths of an inch off the stock to get it to click, and then even less to get it to fire. Having the individually adjustable click and fire is nice because you can set it to, you know, an infinite range of combinations to where you're just, you click it off when you set it, or people use it as a starting point, or I use it as an indication that it's going to fire. So there's something for everybody there.